Hey, what's going on, all the peoples? What is going on, all the peoples? Ridiculous Badger coming at ya from planet 1182 these days. And we got a big update today. We actually have a lot to talk about. So I'm glad that you have joined me here this evening when, oddly enough, it's snowing. It was 70. I live in New Jersey. It was 75 degrees over the weekend, and now it's snowing. So I don't know what to think. I know everyone is pretty much holed up in their homestead at this point, so if you're like me, you're going a little bit bored, a little bit crazy. So we're going to hope that we're going to have some great content here tonight, and we're going to take a look at this update that the devs have put together, and, this is an interesting update because there's a lot on the face of it. There's a lot of extra features it looks like they're adding, but also in addition to the extra features that they're adding, right out in the open, this is probably a shadow patch also for the anniversary event. So this is probably what's going to provide a lot of those little fixes or updates or additional content during anniversary event. I say additional content, although they've been adding in additional events, and they've had to patch the game to do so. But no announcements about anniversary event. Nothing it looks like they've added in. In fact, what they did give us pretty recently was a module called Centakin Conquest, which is it's still I think in everybody's client, even though it has elapsed. And even though they gave us this new additional module, they used it they used it last week, which is probably the week before the anniversary event. So I'm interested to see what the anniversary event is going to look like. I did talk to the developer. I talked to the support line. When I say I talk to the developers, it sounds like I'm special. I am not special, and nobody is special here. That's kind of what the support line is making sure that we know. But I did talk to the support line. They did confirm that the devs have put some serious work into the anniversary event. We'll see what it is. But what I do want to go, let's look at the update. So I'm over here. I'm on Diplomacy of War. We have this game updates channel, and we try to put everything that we can about the updates. One of the things what's on the face of this update is there's going to be new T12 units, and we got a new commander. But one of the things that's interesting about this update is they put out the information in 3 different sources. So they put out the information in-game, they put it out on WeChat, and they also put it out on Facebook. And once again, we found contradictory information in all 3. It's very difficult to understand what exactly is going on with some of these updates, and we don't really know until the update actually drops, and we won't really know until people unlock those T12 units, and we won't really know until everyone gets Huberian and tries them out. So here was the announcement. They've added 3 new T12 units, which is good because there's 3 troop types. They are infantry, Dream Eater, Phantom, and Mirage. And we know what the troop skill is. The troop skill is that they activate damage reduction, which procs at somewhere between a 10 to a 30% rate. I believe it is random after your troop hits the enemy slot. So it's a troop skill like the other troop skills. And then, so on top of the new T12 units, and we'll get into what the stats are. I have the stats. We've got this new commander, Huberian. We have been calling him Red Skinny. This is the commander that Krylar of the Theory Crafters found in the game files some time ago. So, we finally have a name for him. And he is infantry, we did find out. Adjusted the calculation of the capacity bonus of the medical center, so the bonus effect is more obvious. When you use a hull with a capacity increase bonus or whatever, and then you use the buff on top of it, it's not really clear what it is that's getting magnified. It looks like it's too small, so I believe that they're increasing this to make the med base larger, basically. But we'll be able to see. We'll be able to test that one out super easily. Adjusted the rewards of the Galactic campaign. This looks like something that is like, really super exciting, but support did confirm that all this means is that Moonshadow is getting swapped out, Huberian is getting swapped in. I don't know how big of a fan I am of that kind of a bait and switch. However, Moonshadow was an older commander, and they did give almost everyone a chance to get Moonshadow pretty recently, except for Merged Worlds. For some reason, didn't get a chance to get her. So I do think this is good. I don't like how they did it. However, I would have preferred that they just added in an additional event rather than changing things. Okay, so that was the in-game one. Let's check. Are we back in-game? Are we back in-game? We're probably not. And we'll go over then some of the Facebook stuff. Here we go. Maybe. Okay. Yeah? Yes. Okay, we are in game. Alright, so let's get my help. And in fact, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to take a look at, we've got our new T12 units, right? And of course, I have to, the research should cost the same amount. It should be 30,000. Yup, 30,000 hyperspace. I am not going to get this, and I will explain why I'm not going to get it. But first, what I want to do is let's talk about Huberian, then we'll kind of jump back. We'll look at the T12 stats, because I do have the T12 stats for you. So let's look at Huberian. Here he is, as we called him, Red Skinny. He's got backstab, 3% chance to trigger before the action. Launch an additional attack, and both the normal and additional attacks are guaranteed to hit. The additional attack deals 3% of the normal attack damage. Obviously, this is 3% per level. That's the scale rate. So at level 60, you're looking at 180%. This looks like a lot of damage. But actually, when you compare this to skills like Sniper or Nonviolent Resistance or Breakdown, it actually doesn't end up being like a ton of damage. We'll have to see. We'll have to actually get the comm to see it. But 180% normal attack damage sounds like a lot. It's not a lot. And, obviously, yes, then your normal attack will hit, so you're looking at 280% plus whatever gems that proc. But this isn't, not only is it not a lot of damage, it's a low proc rate. We don't like to see that. I would like to see this at a 40% rate. And then counter move, chance to trigger before the action. We know this is a 40% proc rate. So the initiator gains counter move state, rebounding once damage received from attacks for 1 round. So this is a 40% to proc skill, which again is pretty low. So both of Red Skinny's skills are pretty low. 30% and 40% are both relatively low, and his 40% skill it's worded a little bit oddly. We don't exactly know how it's going to work. It seems like it is an inverse of Dragon Slayer's, Shockwave, where it seems like after he absorbs the damage. So number one, this has to proc on your slot. Then your slot has to survive. Actually, first your slot has to go first. It has to go first. So you have to make sure to set it up such that your slot goes first. Then you have to proc this. It's 40%, not extremely high. Then on top of that, the enemy has to hit your slot. Your slot has to survive. And the more of your slot that survives in the round, the better, because what they're not showing here is that what will show here once you get the comm is that there is a limit, and the limit is 1000% of your normal attack. That sounds like a very high limit. It's not a very high limit. It's 10 times your normal attack, and we're not talking about crit damage here. At least I assume we're not. And keep in mind that your damage is based off of how much leadership you have, which means that you need a lot of troops to survive. For an infantry player, this is a tall order. So you need to go first, you need to proc this thing, you need to get hit, you need to survive. And I believe based on the wording where it says rebounding once damage received from attacks for 1 round, I think this actually happens at the end of the round rather than immediately after you receive damage. Now, this seems like, it makes Red Skinny seem like he's an inverse of Dragon Slayer, but if you look at Dragon Slayer, number 1, Shockwave is a 60% chance to trigger, whereas Counter Move is a 40% chance to trigger. Number 2, Shockwave hits 1 slot, does damage to 1 slot, and then that damage that 60% of that damage hits every single slot. You only have to hit 1 slot, and then you do damage to all slots. Versus Red Skinny, he needs to get hit, he gets hit, and then he does damage to the slot. I think this is going to be the slot right in front of him. It doesn't say it does damage to all slots. And not only that, but so Dragon Slayer does the damage as a fraction of total damage. There's no upward limit of this. It doesn't matter. You could just build a ton of attack. You could hit enemy rangers, and you'll do a ton of damage to everybody. Whereas Red Skinny, it doesn't read here, just like it doesn't actually read here at the end, but the max is going to be 10 times normal attack. If only 30 rangers survive in that, let's say you put 1 million rangers in that slot, if 30 survive, well, the maximum that you could do is 30 rangers 10 times their attack, which, as you and I both know, it's nothing. So this comm does not jive with traditional infantry strengths, and for that reason, a lot of players have been looking at Red Skinny like he's gonna save them, or so he's gonna be a great new comm for infantry. And so far, look, we will have to see what happens once we get the commander, because even Dragon Slayer, it was impossible to tell what kind of meta-changing impact Dragon Slayer would have. Red Skinny could absolutely save the class, but based on what I'm looking at, he doesn't take advantage of any of the strengths of infantry, and he causes you to have to spec into their weaknesses. So now you have to turn around, you have to build on HP. You can't, if you build on defense, that lowers your counter move damage, because you'll take less damage. So you just want a ton of HP now. I don't know. Maybe you'll play a giant tank with him, and that's fine. But that's going to take a different gear set as to an infantry player is normally used to. So it's just going to cost more money. This looks. I mean, what a big frickin' surprise! You're going to tell me, Badger. You say that this is a money spender's. This is a spender's comm. Big frickin' deal. All content when it comes out is first for spenders. And to that, I'll say no. Dragon Slayer is an extremely accessible comm. What we needed was an infantry version of Dragon Slayer. Didn't have to have the same mechanics, but the same kind of capability to do damage. Red Skinny doesn't seem to have that capability to do damage, doesn't seem to have that capability mainly to do collateral damage that was such a game changer for Dragon Slayer. Now, what they've done is they've gone into they've gone at the last line here, adjusted the rewards of Galactic campaign. That seems like it's going to be something cool, because this is something that we've said for a while, that the rewards suck. It's not worth what you actually spend in there. And it looks like they're trying to save face, but all they did was they swapped out the releases of Moonshadow, and they put in Huberian. So they really haven't changed anything here, except, I mean, they've updated the comm, but they haven't given this the attention that they should have. And these rewards are so ridiculous. Actually, did they maybe increase the gold? No, I don't think so. But at any rate, 10,000 gold is ridiculous. This is for the first place. Look, most people aren't going to get the first place. Where are they going to get? I guess most teams are going to get between 17th and 80th. Like real competitive teams. So 2,000 gold. I mean, 2 30-day speed ups, 3 pure crit. looks like we're getting some frags, but this is still, for the amount that you spend in here, this is ridiculous. And to me, this is not the reform that we need. Okay, so that's one thing. We got Red Skinny, right? So let's take a look at the, there's some new gear pieces, then we'll take a look at the T12. So, the gear pieces. Let's look at the new gear pieces. There we go. So, there's a weapon. I think there's one of each. Yeah, so there's a weapon, 30% attack, 3% penetration, 30% crit damage. Probably going to be replacing the Wild Rose, as people are going to use Swallow more as both a penetration build, and they'll probably use it for more of a well-rounded weapon. You can use this. This is fine. If you're going to ask me, does this replace a Titan? No, it doesn't replace a Titan, because there are plenty. I mean, number one, look, it's at the low end of Titan. You can on the attack, yeah, 30%, but then you get 30% crit damage. So while getting a decent enough Titan is going to be costly, we'll have to see how much a Swallow costs. But, this might be a more effective way for more people to access, decent numbers in the game. But if you have a great Titan, my guess is you're not going to be changing this out. Most people get their crit damage from other places, but that's because they need to. Possibly now with additional crit damage options in the weapon, people might move away from Maduel and Eye of Abyss, and that's for sure a possibility. However, the numbers that Swallow is putting up is not extremely high. The one thing that you'll have to remember is it might be a more well-rounded weapon for basic combat. However, let's turn this down. So this might be a more well-rounded weapon for basic combat. You're going to have to remember that many skills in the game cannot crit or cannot do crit damage. And because of that, if you take a Swallow into the fight, you're going to be losing a lot of damage that you would get from a Titan. Based on that, the Titan is going to be your more accessible, is going to be your more utilizable gear piece, even if, depending on the cost, Swallow might be more accessible. You might be taking a huge hit in damage, though, when it comes to commanders like Plasma, when it comes to commanders like King, Lady and Beast, etc. Something to keep in mind. I think it's going to be good for people. Look, there are people who spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on getting decent Titans. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what people do. Then, of course, we've got they changed the names of this stuff. We've got the Ambition. So it's got Crit Wither, 40%, Total Resistance, Weaken Effect, 40%, and then we've got Tear Suppression, 3%. So the Tear Suppression is, of course, the same as the Black Knight, which is nice. What's good about this and what's bad about this is it doesn't end up, quote-unquote, wasting its stats on traditional defensive stats like HP and defense. It has higher base stats. You might look at it and go, well, it's got higher base stats than a Black Knight. And you'd be right. The Crit Wither is 40% base, and then the RWE is 40% base, and even it's the best RWE chest piece in the game at 10% above the Shadow. So you might look at this and say, well, it's got better stats. However, in actuality, 40% Crit Wither is going to do less to the damage that your enemy does to you than the defense that you might find on another chest piece. And Resistance Weaken, look, it's good for Resistance Weaken effect, but you might end up taking more damage with this, even going into a Strength and Weaken effect build than you would with a Shadow, because the Shadow has HP and defense, of course, divides the damage. HP gives you the capability to take more damage. So I'm not sure, actually, if this is going to be a more effective... should you start swapping out your Black Knights for Ambition? I don't know if it's going to be worth that. And I think that I am hard-pressed to figure out if this kind of piece of equipment, like in a situation where you need one of these stats, especially the tear suppression and especially the resistance weaken effect, I'm hard pressed to figure out, like, would you need the other stats? You know, if you're using tear suppression, what do I need crit wither for? Yeah, I mean, resistance weaken effect could help, especially for players that don't have the original T12 units, but you've got other ways to get other stats, so I don't know. I don't know. My guess is this is going to be used the most for players to run resistance weaken effect. There are so many strength and weaken effect pieces of gear now, so I could see that, and I appreciate that. To me, the pants are the craziest thing to come out of this patch. The other stuff, like, we'll get into the T12 and why I think that's, you know, basically useless, the new T12 units. We got into Huberian and why I think that Huberian is basically useless. You know, I'm always pessimistic about this. However, Fire Spirit is going to impact me. And the reason it's going to impact me is this is a trigger rate increase. And you might look at this and go, oh, well, it's 3%. But this is... when you upgrade this, it's likely going to upgrade at 0.3% per level. And if you get this to level 40, you're going to be tacking on, what, an additional 15% skill trigger rate? I bet this thing stacks with skill trigger rate hull. So then you're going to have, instead of an additional 10%, you're going to have an additional 25%. I think that, you know what, it's, as I go through this, this is probably overdue. It's actually probably surprising we don't have this already. Actually, probably the hull itself should do plus 25%. And when you get this to 50, of course, this is going to do plus 18%. So, look, I mean, I can't hold it against them that much for putting this in there. And look, it is dodge. You know, I do like dodge gear pieces. It's got a little less dodge, but it's got the same as Speed of God base. So dodge and defense is back in the meta a little bit, you know, now. I had like basically doubled down on Phantom, and I had a plus 40 Nyx or plus 38 Nyx. So I got rid of those. I still think that was a good decision because I don't think Nyxa brings enough to the party. Especially as Fire Spirit has increased defense over Nyx. So I mean, this is going to be the hot item here. Because everybody wants additional skill trigger rates. What else we got? And then we got one more. We've got the Red Pupil. These names are so ridiculous. They need to put this in front of an English-speaking focus group. So the Red Pupil has dodge. It's got accuracy. It's got high dodge. It's almost as much as a Thalamus booster. And it's for, you know, both rows. It's got good accuracy, you know, almost as much as the Mini Death Star with no negative stats. So that's a big deal. I mean, I've got a Mini Death Star on the side, which I use to swap in and out. I don't use it so much anymore, but it's my, you know, it's my utility accuracy piece. I don't think I'll probably get rid of it, because why wouldn't I go for the Red Pupil? Plus 20% HP. I mean, the HP is kind of low, but whatever. It's something. They didn't need to do that. You know, the gear pieces are pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with these gear pieces. I think that where is the biggest danger in these gear pieces? Number one, people using Swallow when they should be using Titans. Although Swallow could be an earlier entry point for people. I think one of the questions I saw in the chat was, can you use this at a, you know, do you have to be Forge level 21? I don't think you need to be Forge level 21. I think this is event gear, but I don't know yet. I mean, I'll look. I'll see if we have any. Do we have any? Is it in here? No, it's not. So this is something. It might be an earlier entry point. You know, your Swallow, it might be easier to swallow. But I think that the pitfalls are going to be people using the Swallows when they should be using Titans, and then people using Ambition, the chest piece, for when a Black Knight would just serve them better. as more and more stats get added to the game, though, I mean, these utility pieces really change the meta, and they allow people to run as a more modular concept, or to spec into something that's specialized. And I think, excuse me, I think that's, it's really great for the game. The gear pieces they've been doing have been really great for the game. Where they've been screwing up has been in the units and in the commanders. So let's look at. Let me show you guys the new T12. Okay. So here we go. This is what the new T12 look like. These are kind of cut off. We got infantry up top, and then I guess Walker on the left, and on the right are the air. And then let's look through the attributes. This is one of my big problems, is that to get the information on this game, you have to look at Facebook, you have to look at WeChat, and you have to look in game, and you have to talk to the developers, and it's really a friggin' pain. Okay, so number one, so the infantry units are Dream Eaters. The description is one of the most mysterious ancient Protoss with extremely strong spiritual power, is said to be the manager of the Dream. I pulled this off of WeChat. It's fucking insane. They'll probably change it. So the basic attributes are, look, the population is the same. It costs the same to unlock. We know that. It's probably going to cost the same to train it. It has all between the... Let me see if I can put this easily. Every single stat that it has, from HP all the way down to dodge, and really from units down to dodge, it takes the lower value of the Transcenders and the Great Sage for infantry. So for the others, it always just takes the lower value of the two T12 we had up until this point. It just takes the lower value. So, like, the first T12 that we got have higher HP, right? So, here, look. These things, this Dream Eater has 15,000 HP. And the Great Sage has 15,000 HP, and the Transcenders have 20,000. So, Transcenders have 20,000 HP, base HP. Remember, the Dream Eater has 15,000. Great Sage has 15,000. So the lower of the two values is what it takes. The original T12 that came out, the Transcenders, they had higher HP and they used tear space. The second T12 that came out, the Great Sage, they had lower HP, but they had higher attack, and they were more attack-y based. So here, look, the Transcenders have 1,200 attack, and the Great Sage have 1,600 attack. And the Dream Eater here, they have 1,200 attack. So they take the lower value of HP, which is the newer T12, the green fatties, right? It takes their lower HP coupled with the lower attack of the older T12. Everything else from here is the same, except for also crit. So crit bonus, it takes, instead of taking the newer T12, have higher crit bonus. Look, crit bonus 120%. The older T12, 60%. It takes the 60% crit bonus. So look, it's got the worst aspects of the original T12. It's got the worst aspects of the newer T12 for stats. Then when it comes to what is the skill, they proc a skill. I believe it is when you hit, just the same as the two T12 that we have right now. And when you hit, you then gain damage reduction on the stack between 10 and 30% randomly. I don't know why it's random to be, I don't know why they would make this random, where it's already random if it's going to proc. Now it's going to have, now it has a random on top of a random. As an infantry player, I really don't have any interest in running a damage reduction build. Especially as in order to get my damage reduction build, I have to sacrifice HP and I have to sacrifice attack. I don't understand why there's not enough going for these units, basically, at least at the infantry level, because I have to start the match with lower HP, I start the match with lower attack, I don't get my damage reduction until I actually hit. One of the things that was good about the first two T12, what was good about that is, yes, they gave you a skill, however, the skill, people hyper-focused on the skill. The skill is not the main aspect of the T12 units. Just like every other tier, the main aspect of the units are the stats of the unit. And when the new T12 came, quote unquote new T12 came out, the Great Sages came out, I actually put out a video about how these T12 were great. I love them as an infantry player. It's what infantry players needed, yada, yada, yada. So what they've done, though, is they've taken what was good about the new T12, they took it away from the unit, and they took what was good about the older T12, that they were tankier and had HP, and they took it away from the unit, and they're giving us a random chance to proc this skill that gives you damage reduction. I don't need damage reduction after my turn goes. I need to start the battle with damage reduction. This is a tank, we're giving up attack, we're giving up stats, and we're not getting anything in return for it. I personally, I'm totally OCD. I personally see no reason for me to unlock these. I don't like how they look. I don't like what their stats are. I don't like what their skill is. They don't seem to bring anything new to the party, except when you start to get at, maybe you will want this as a Rogers build, but I don't see why you would, because you're sacrificing stats on the promise of stats, not even the promise of stats, on the chance of stats later into the battle. Rogers doesn't need damage reduction later into the battle. Rogers needs damage reduction to bridge him until he gets it through his defensive stance. So even for Rogers, he seems subpar compared to Origin. Why would a player pay to unlock these units and then build these units separately? Why would they pay to unlock them and then transfer already existing units? This is something that you would pay to get them separately, and it seems like it's not even value added. It's just an extra thing to cost money for costing money's sake. I could see some players, maybe wanting to look into getting the Walker ones for Hancock, but if you use it on Hancock, then your HP shield is going to go down, and Hancock is built on that HP shield. Why would you want to wait until your units have to first go, and then they have to hit the enemy? If the enemy dodges, you're fucked. You don't get a skill. I don't see why anyone would want these. It looks like the developers forgot to give them a good stat. They didn't actually make the units good for their own sake. They made the entirety of the unit is the extra value added piece, but without the value, there's no added value that they could inject into this, because the units are going to die before they hit that point. So let's see. So we went over the infantry. It's the same, though. When you go to the walkers, when you go to the air, it's exactly the same. They took the lower stats out of the two existing T12, and they threw it onto an expensive paper tiger. It seems. I'm not going to unlock these units. I'm going to rely on other people to tell me what's so great about these units. 30% damage reduction is a lot, but keep in mind, this will not stack with gear. You can't add it with the gear. It has to be multiplied. So if you have damage reduction on your gear, that's 50%. If you get this for 30%, you're not going to gain 80% damage reduction. You're going to gain another 4.5%. No, I'm sorry. So 50%, 5 times 50, another 15%. Excuse me, damage reduction. So you're going to end it with 65%. You're not going to end it with 80%. Yes, 65% is a lot, but until this procs, you're kind of screwed. There needs to be a stat added to this. But to level with you guys, I'm happy that these are screwed up because I don't want these coming onto the field as an OP new type of troop that we have to build a new gear set in order to fight. I'm glad these things seem broken. You know, I hope that they're not going to turn around and just release Tier 13. Okay. That's the troops. We went over the gear. We went over Huberian. What else do we have? Okay, so we can check out the med bay. And no, there's more stuff. Where's the Lucky Star thing? Okay. So the Lucky Star function. And again, why do I have to go into Facebook to get this information? Why is it not in game? I don't understand. I actually asked the developers, hey, why don't you list all of the game updates in game? And support came back and said, well, it could be difficult to do that. And I went back to support and I said, no, it's not difficult to do that. It takes the same amount of effort that you're putting into it, putting it on Facebook. Just copy and paste it into the game. It's a big text file. You know, it's not difficult. You know, I kind of challenge that. Especially, you know, I actually think it would be easier because right now they have differing amounts of information that are out there, and it's ridiculous. It's so when they send out this information originally, they're contradictory, and we kind of have to go to support and go, hey, you know, Red Skitty's first skill here it says 20%, and there it says 30%. Well, which is it? And they're like, oh, we're sorry to cause you frustration. It's 30%. Like, just copy and paste, guys. Yeah, okay, all right. Lucky Star function. So this was added to the game because people were complaining that they were spending millions and millions of melange, especially for high-end equipment upgrades, and they were just failing over and over and over again. And it has gotten to the point where some players won't even upgrade their equipment except with bots because it's you use that melange, you never see a return on it, you just flush it down the toilet of time and space. So they came back with the Lucky Star function. So you will get a lucky point if you fail an upgrade. You will get this. You see, like at the top left of each of these pictures, there's like a gauge that looks like the Galactic Oracle. So you will get this lucky point. So you will go from 0% to another percentage. Once you get to 100%, you will get a lucky star, which is then tabulated at the top right. Then you could use lucky stars to get a you could use the Lucky Stars to get a guaranteed upgrade on your equipment. Now, based on the level of your equipment, what level it is when it fails, and what level equipment you're trying to upgrade with the Lucky Stars, you'll get differing amounts. So if you fail on a higher level piece of equipment, you'll get more percentage of lucky points. And if you're trying to improve, if you want to improve without failure, a higher level piece of equipment, it's going to take more Lucky Stars than a lower level piece of equipment. I understand that they had to make something that would... They couldn't make something that just like if you upgrade it twice and it doesn't work, that it automatically upgrades. Especially, you know, people want to try on certain equipment and then they might want to only use their definite upgrade on a different piece of equipment. So, I mean, they needed to address that. And it does seem like they've done that. My one critique of this is that, you know, this is incredibly convoluted, and they've done nothing to address whether or not the rates of upgrade are as advertised. And I think a lot of people in the community postulate that it's not if it's saying 80% success rate, people don't think that, you know, that's truly 80% success rate. And I'll personally affirm that I've had, you know, gear pieces that are like 20% that I've upgraded like 8, 9, 10 times. Before bots came out, we were screwed. And it just, I agree, it does not seem as though the chance is commensurate. You know, it doesn't seem accurate. So this will be nice to check out. And, you know, I'll invite people to check it out. All right, all right, all right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So I'm glad that they added this Lucky Star thing. I am not going to try this out right now because it's not an upgrade equipment event. I don't know. It just looks so convoluted. I don't like these convoluted answers. Yeah, that's my big deal. I don't like the convoluted answers. All right. What else is there to check out? Let's pull my comms in. 'Cause I think I have to do some hunting anyway. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anything? You know, one thing that I do think is important, and this is tangential at best, is that this update bonus of 400 gold, 400k food, 400k parts, 8 mags, 5 shadow matter. They need to update this to take into account inflation. Look, the game has been around for a while. This hasn't changed. Like, I've never seen this change. 5 shadow matter. Like, what is that doing what is 8 magazines doing? In my opinion, they need to increase this. Like, and maybe they do it by the age of the world. Maybe they do it by your bridge level or your power level. But they could multiply this by 10 and it would be basically meaningless to me. All right. Oh, okay. So someone said this in the chat. What words are... What? There's a whole bunch of banned words now. What is banned? The word what? That's nuts. You have to give us the... Dude, we have to be able to say the word what? That's such an important question word. How... Let's ask him, World Chat. Oh, you can't even use punctuation anymore? That's insane. What are you doing, developers? So this goes back to, like, this is one thing that I've told support this multiple times. I started telling support this back in December. The word that? This? Is it this? It's this. Okay, so you can't say this. I've been telling support this since December. It's you need a way to ask the community if they want certain changes or not. Like, before you develop these changes, you need to ask. They need to ask the Western community. I don't know if they have a way of asking the Chinese community. Or all over the world, but they don't have a way of talking. I've noticed the Western players are becoming increasingly disenfranchised, and it's because of shit like this. We don't know when we're gonna log in the game, and we can't say words like "what" or "this" or "server." You can't even say the word China. It's getting to a point where it's just ludicrous, and personally, I don't know how much longer the game is going to be successful for, and they'll have an influx of funding and put out new content. So, like, personally, I don't even remember the last time I bought a pack. I don't remember the last time I bought a $100 pack at all. I have zero plans to buy a $100 pack during the anniversary event. I just don't believe that, I don't believe that the developers are doing their job and deserve to get spends from this. So, I mean, look, this is ridiculous. People need to report this. I hope this is something simple where somebody misplaced, like, an exponent on some coding and they can flip this shit back. I mean, this is ridiculous. Are all the question words? All the question words? At least the. At least we can use the word the. That's insane. All right. I mean, I can't even write this. Like, I don't understand anything. I know that. I know that people are screwing around and testing it, but none of this is is recognizable. I have no idea what people are talking about. Oh, how? We can say how. All right. Figures? And the way that they're banning this stuff, I don't understand. They're putting 3 asterisks like in the middle of the word. Is? Someone said is was censored. Yeah, they're adding characters to is now. This is insane. Oh, this is also stupid. Look at this. Let's take a picture of that. Just says shadow matter. Wow. No, that's from beforehand. Okay, whatever. Okay, so I have no clue what's going on there. I have no clue. And I don't know. I figure what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do some hunting, and maybe we'll learn some more about the patch. But I think that's the basics. So look, if you're joining me to find out about the patch, about the new T12, we went over the new T12. We went over Huberian, the new commander. We went over the new equipment. We went over the lucky point, the equipment upgrade, new feature. We went over the galactic battle rewards. So if that's what you're joining me here for, thanks for joining me for that. And now I'm gonna go hunting. You are welcome to stay for that. So let's figure out. So look, I'm on this planet. No. Okay. So I'm on this planet. We have it split with VEN, with Venomous. V3N, rather. So they get the left side, we get the right side. And so every day, they get 2 capitals. Every day what we do in Seraphim is we have to clear our side, of course, of everybody who is not in Seraphim. Everybody who should not be farming on this side. Now I'm just gonna look for people who are offsides. We're a few weeks into. Well, this is our second week of the deal. Beforehand, we were just clearing everyone around us. I think by now people are kind of getting used to it. Oh, the medbay buff. Medbay buff. Shit, I already had medbay buff on. Crap. It's much larger though. Yeah, this is double the size that I had before. Or no, it was 270 before, even with the buff. So my guess is that they are adding together the buff percentage and the hull percentage rather than okay. Yeah, they realized that we need the capability to talk, huh? Oh my goodness. Alright. There we go. Yeah, fix this shit. Come on. Alright, so clearly they got some stuff to work out over here. We're going to let them work their shiz out, I think, because I don't know how long this is going to be down for now. And then what we will do is, you know what, maybe I'll come back and maybe I'll do some hunting when we come back. But thanks a lot for joining me here tonight. Good luck with whatever the hell is going on. And we're looking forward to anniversary event, probably dropping later this week.